Welcome to Positive Philter with your host, Philip Wilkerson, a podcast that focuses on friends, family, health, and career with a little self-help along the way. Please join me in this journey for self-improvement, and I hope what I have to share will make you a better person, thus making the world a better place. I hope you enjoy the show. Hey, Positive Philter listeners and viewers. Thank you. We are so excited to launch a new series, a new mini-series. I'm going to give a lot of shout out to my friend and mentor, Samara. She tuned in to my Fathers in Career Services podcast episode a while ago. And she said, you know what, Philip, I think that we should do a continuing series of different identities in career services. And I said, you know what, that's another genius idea by you. And since it's your idea, you got to join me. And she said, wow, I shouldn't have said that. But she did. And now we're going to launch it. So today we're doing Mothers in Career Services. And tomorrow we're going to be doing an episode called LGBTQIA plus in career services, same time. So we're really excited to do that and really excited to have this episode with y'all tonight. Now, before we get started, I want to just give a shout out to two of my kind of like fake me out sponsors / affiliates / people I want to support. So the first one is Intelligent Change. They are the creators of the 5-Minute Journal. Now, mind you, I am an owner of the 5-Minute Journal. I've had this for about 4 years. It's been a tool for me that has really changed my life and something I really adhere to. I wouldn't just talk about a product that just to sell it. But for me, I like to journal. It has increased my gratitude over time. So you can check it out. It's Intelligent Change. And that's the website. Another one is Tiny Froze. So this is a show which is produced and created by one of my fraternity brothers and his friend. There's a series about millennials and at their times going through the professional work life, animated series that you can find on YouTube as tinyfroze.com or find it on YouTube. So I wanted to show support because he supports the show. Shout out to you, my friend Paul. And so if you have time to check it out, please do. Now, without further ado, we're going to get right into the topic. I am joined by a wonderful collection of women leaders, people I look up to, people that are stuck with me in their lives. They show me love, and like a hurt puppy, if they show me love once, they stuck with me. And so now that they stuck with me, I said I had to get you on the show. And so I am joined by Jen Rossi Long, Samara Reynolds, Whitney Kerr, and Tibisay Hernandez. Now, all these wonderful leaders are throughout the country, or actually throughout the Eastern region. I'm not going to cap and say throughout the country, we're all in the same region, but they're all throughout the Eastern region in different career services or formerly have been in career services before. And I wanted to bring them on the show to have their perspective on this role in their life, as well as probably what they'll say probably is one of the most important roles of their life is, taking care of others. So without further ado, I'm going to ask them to just briefly give a little introduction about themselves, and we're going to go right into the episode. So Jen, let me start with you first, because you're the first person I see on my screen. Just give a little pitch or introduction about who you are.
Sure thing. Hi, everyone. I'm Jen Rossi Long. I work at Westchester University in the Career Development Center. I'm also a proud alum of Westchester, so it's been wonderful to be back for the last 3 years. And our team is primarily working on making career development visible, approachable, and inclusive. So that's who I am. That's what we do.
I love that. Thanks for having me on the show. Great introduction. All right, Samara, you're up next.
Hi, good evening, everybody. I'm Samara Reynolds. I am Director of Career Services at Virginia Commonwealth University in Richmond, Virginia, and about 15 years in career services. This is my, 8th institution that I've been at in different parts of the country, and excited to know Phil originally through VACE and now just in all realms of life. So excited to be on the show this evening.
All right, Tibisay.
Hi, everybody. My name is Tibisay Hernandez, and it's so funny that I have to do an elevator pitch during a podcast about career. So here goes. I was in career services at the University at Albany, and also am a proud Great Dane. I graduated twice and am currently in a PhD program. I often say that they just keep bringing me back so that I can keep paying tuition. But I currently am at Grand River Solutions, and they are a consulting firm. I am their DEI manager. And I am also very proud to be the director for diversity and inclusion for Eastern ACE. So I'm super excited to be here amongst friends, colleagues, and family.
And lastly, but not least, Whitney Kerr, my favorite finer woman of Zeta Phi Beta, which you can see in the background.
Greetings, everyone. My name is Whitney Carr. I am the Director of Career and Workforce Development at Lincoln University, the first degree granting HBCU in the country. I'm new to Lincoln. I'm new to the university as a whole. I was previously at Drexel University as the serving as the senior co-op advisor for diversity, equity, and inclusion at the Steinbright Career Development Center. I am extremely happy to be here in this space with you all today. So I'm just going to hand it back to you, Phil. I don't need to go into too much.
All right. Well, I'm just going to get right into it and then just kind of point guard. So I'm going to go with you, Whitney. In general, one of my first questions, do you believe that higher ed and specifically career services is mother friendly? Meaning that, you know, you're able to advance in your career such as you did as a director and still parent?
Sure, yeah. So I feel like any field is friendly or as friendly as you make it, to be honest. If your goal is to advance in your career, nothing is going to stop you from doing so. If there's obstacles or barricades, roadblocks, whatever you want to call it, if you're confident in yourself and the goal that you set forth and are passionate about the role that you want to step into, nothing is going to stop you from achieving that goal, you know, and advancing in your career. And sometimes that may take looking at what your end goal is, what your goal in mind with your advancement, what it is, and pretty much looking at the path and maybe like remapping things, you know, making some adjustments so the road is less bumpy. But at the end of the day, if it's something that you want, you'll make it work. You'll make the space friendly for yourself.
Well, I like that. You know, I think that's, you know, pivoted to my next question, because I overheard that Samara said you were at 8 institutions, right? And so I want to, this is kind of a tricky question. What do you think was a more difficult transition, your different jobs or the transition into your role as motherhood? Because, you know, that's a lot of transition. Do you think that prepared you, all those different transitions career-wise?
I would say the motherhood transition 100% was more difficult because everything else felt a lot more in my own control, right? Like I could decide when to stay or go, to accept an offer or not, to, you know, adapt or decide it was time to go. Whereas motherhood, you're in it. And regardless of if your kiddo's having a good day or a bad day, you are there to make it work.
Yeah. And so and a follow-up question about that is then what skills have you learned in your career that you think is transferable to being a mother, and then vice versa? What roles and skills did you learn as a mother that you think is transferable to your role as a director?
Lots of things. I think compassion and empathy and patience are all pieces that come to mind quickly. Sense of humor, which I'm always trying to develop, maybe easier in hindsight 2020, but I'm more decisive, I think, now as a mom than I was before, better in crisis situations, and having to just roll with it. And then maybe I process a little bit later, but being there for people when maybe they're stressed or having a tough day or a tough time or need somebody to make a choice, even if some of those situations might have been harder at other points in my career. So I think those are some of the pieces that are transferable to my role now. Yeah.
And so, and I'm just going to keep on going around, and then I might ask a question for everyone and whoever wants to jump in, but I want to make sure everyone gets a chance to talk. But so Tibisay, you know, we met in the Zoom world. We met in COVID. I'm not going to embarrass you and talk about how we met. We all know that. But
I don't get embarrassed, so it's fine.
No, but with that being said, talk about this. You're doing a lot. You're actually in a doctoral program currently. You're wearing many hats. How have you balanced those many hats, particularly in the world when we met like this COVID, right? When we meeting, and what I'm hearing from a lot of the work world, both fathers and mothers, that this has been work-life balance, work-life integration. There's no thing. It's now just work and life and just mixed together. So talk about all that infusion of your roles right now, and how do you prioritize and balance?
Well, it's interesting because I went from working in an institution and then being bound to my home and then transitioning into a role in a company that was already remote pre-COVID. So, I really much really thought that the whole staying at home thing was going to be great and fun. But as an extroverted person, that need for human connection became something that I didn't really realize I was missing as much as I have been. I don't think that there's a balance. I think that some days I'm a great mom. Some days I'm a sucky mom. Some days I'm a great employee. Some days I'm a sucky employee. Some days I treat myself really well. And some months I treat myself like garbage. So it really doesn't feel like there's a balance. What I can say was that the beauty of the integration of everything during COVID has been that with the flexibility of putting personal boundaries on my time and saying, okay, I am going to be done at 5, even if I'm not fully done. I'm going to be done at 5. I'm going to make sure that I check in with my kids, that I have dinner with the family. And then if I have to go back and do a couple things, then I'll do that. But yeah, I definitely feel like there wasn't much of a balance. I try to give myself grace. I'm in a doctoral program. I was really holding on to 2022, I'll be done. And that is not what's going to happen. And I am okay with that. So giving up some of the control, I think as a type A personality, as a woman of color, as a Dominican woman, as a Latina, I have been pretty conditioned to overachieve. Overachieving became like a survival mechanism for me. And I had to figure out during COVID that I needed to mentally survive. I also needed to emotionally survive. And in this new world, I needed to create systems that worked as well as they could for me. But it's been a journey. You talked about being in different spaces. It's been a journey of having colleagues that are supportive, of making sure that we have spaces like Eastern Ace, like all of you, where we can check in, where we can vent. But it definitely has been challenging, and balance is not a word that I would put anywhere near 2020, 2021 at all.
Right. I mean, I find like that. I think there's similarities, and I think that there's been some connection between both fathers and mothers, but we can't ignore in regards to the Great Resignation and what's gone on in COVID, that disproportionately has affected mothers and working moms more than working fathers. Big fact, right? We're not gonna do that. We're not going to ignore the systematic, I guess, roles that have been placed on women and work. So this is my question for you, Jen. With that, as a career professional, we're talking about that Great Resignation and those things. What do you think that we need to do as professionals, particularly as those that don't identify as women, to do to support that I guess Great Resignation of more women? Because I feel like it's not fair, honestly. I'll be totally transparent, right? That it was like 70% women or something. It was a crazy number. So.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, I think well, a lot has to happen, but I'm going to focus in on just one area in particular. I feel like in higher ed specifically, retention and kind of like seeing the value in retention and actually taking meaningful steps towards that retention, it just, I don't know where the disconnect is, because I'm like, if you care about the people and the teams and the ones that are really like really doing the work and keeping the university going and supporting the students and doing all these wonderful things, if you care about those folks, like retention naturally comes into the conversation. Even if you don't care about those folks and you're looking at the bottom line, retention is so expensive. So I just can't figure out, like, where are we drawing from that this retention piece, that we're really struggling to figure it out, or that we're resistant to fix some of the systems that are causing this to happen. Like I mean I kind of feel like, what I think is needed more than anything is people who can innovate around, okay, why are people leaving? What can we do? And how do we make this a better environment? Because clearly it's the environment seems to be lacking right now, as I every day I'm seeing colleagues, leaving this field in particular, and kind of understanding the impact of that. So I
Yeah.
just retention.
Yeah, and I mean, I didn't want to put you on spotlight, but I knew that you as Presidente had, the answers and stuff like that, because like, and this is now I want whoever can answer, and I don't know how we, do it, but like that was something too that I really found, when we talked about the father episode that we did previously, and then as I led to this one, I was thinking more like, I see this, right? Like, visibly, I see this, not I see all industries affected, but I think, higher ed and other ones have been affected by this great resignation, and more so. And then with that, I've seen, even in my lens, I've seen a lot more mothers, like anecdotally, but also maybe factually, leave. And I don't think that there's the same amount of pressure on fathers to leave. And so I don't know. Do you I mean, and this is anecdotal. Maybe you all got some numbers and facts, but why do you think, beyond in the retention, and do you think that there is a patriarchal effect to this, or what do you think is going on?
I think it was. I mean, 2020. I have a master's in education, curriculum development specifically. I had to teach 5th grade when COVID happened, and I just remember feeling so at a loss, and so much that like people just didn't kind of understand that I had to kind of take on this role. Even with there being flexibility, there were just a lot of different factors that interplayed with my decision making, because I was a part of that great resignation. Every time you say great resignation, I'm like, you're talking about me. But one of the big things for me was seeing my husband be furloughed and thinking, I did everything that I could to get out of the Bronx. I did everything that American society told me I needed to do to be successful within American society. And this disease may possibly see me after I bought a house and have 2 children. I might lose everything that I've worked for. And it became a real numbers and cents type of a situation for me, where I was just like, I have to go to a situation where I can sustain a job that if one of us ends up losing our jobs, that the other one can provide and will be okay and will be afloat. So there was a lot of anxiety and a lot of fear. I remember the day that my husband got furloughed and just freaking out and calling my boss and saying, like, what am I going to do? There is no way that, as a millennial, everybody talks about the millennials and how much we complain about all these different things, but like, there wasn't a lot of savings. There's just not, right? And everybody, oh, you do it for the love of hire. Yes, there's a love component, but it became a survival component for me. And I think that was something that I felt really deeply as a woman, as a mother, as a woman of color, and also as a first generation student. I have family members that I have to make sure are also okay. And there's what I call the poverty tax that's associated to that, making sure that everybody that helped you get to where you are also can be at least okay as they're aging. And those are things that people weren't considering. Like, my parents got COVID, and I'm in Albany, they're in the middle of the Bronx. Like, there were so many things that I felt so resentful about, not having more means to be able to help my family. And that really was the defining factor for me of like, I have to do everything that I can to try to have a more stable financial situation for myself.
Wow. I mean, that was very powerful. I almost at a loss for words because I was trying to think of something to say, but I was really focusing on that. And I think that probably resonated with some other people here. Maybe, share some, I mean, if anyone feels comfortable, does anyone else want to share share obstacles that they faced where there was a conflict between career and being a mother during COVID, and those conflicts that arose? If anyone feels, and whatever you feel comfortable sharing, because I know that was very tough. A lot of people, shout out for daycare, because those first couple months, even for me, Tibby saw it. I looked rough. I didn't cut my hair. I was wearing sweatpants all the time. I was running late to meet. I mean, it was a rough time the first couple months until I felt more comfortable to send my son to daycare. Even, I think I even felt that too. I was like, how am I going to do this? And then honestly, my wife's like, how am I going to do this? How are we both going to do this? So does anyone else want to share an obstacle that they faced, a real deal obstacle that they faced where there was a direct conflict of something very important to you, which is, your being a mom and a job, during this time?
Sure. I'll go ahead and share. So in the beginning of the pandemic, I was working at Drexel. I was, just a regular co-op advisor. And, when the pandemic hit, everything pretty much shut down, including the schools, right? Campus shut down. My son's daycare was on campus, so he was here. The only thing is, while we physically didn't have to be there, we were still working. Our appointments weren't getting canceled. It was just getting rescheduled and pushed to a virtual setting. And that was really difficult to manage with a 4-year-old child that's on the spectrum, running around, taking off his clothes randomly, screaming in the camera and things like that. It was very, very difficult to manage. And I was truly stressed out. Things that I would have gotten done during the regular work day, I would not get to it until after he'd go to bed. So I'd be up at midnight trying to input, information, trying to make sure that I am not going, I'm not missing any type of deadlines, because Drexel is really, when it comes down to deadlines, you have to be on point. It was very difficult. My mental health was really in the trash at that point. And I didn't have anybody to rely on because my fiance, he works for UPS. So, they consider him an essential worker. So he was at work every single day. And it got really bad because everybody was ordering things and, I would not see him. He would come home after midnight. So I got to a point where I was like, I need to call somebody to take my son. The daycare didn't open for a while. I think it opened the fall semester, actually, or after the fall semester, because I was working with him when he first started pre-K. So I had to call my mom. I'm like, she works in K-12. The schools were completely shut down in New York. So she was at home chilling in her backyard in the gazebo. And I'm like, please take him. Can you please just watch him? This will be so much easier for you. So please. And she's like, yeah, I love my grandson. I'll take him and watch him so that I can at least sit and do my meetings without my child butt naked in the background. without the noise and the, throwing things and the complaints and things of that nature, and try and at least build up a schedule where I'm respecting my own personal boundaries. Unfortunately, that did not end up happening. To this day, I still haven't gotten back into the swing of things, even though I'm working 100% on campus now. But it was really, really difficult. And when I got him back, I was like, I don't know how I'm going to maintain him going to school virtually. Hey, Olivia. Yeah, him going to school virtually and, still working from home. And I was so grateful to his daycare when they finally reopened their doors, because I'm like, you know what? I will stay home and commute into the city so that I can, take him to school, and I'll go back home and do my job and pick him up. I'm fine with that. I'm fine with wasting the gas. But I couldn't handle it. It was just too much.
I love that. And so I know, Samara, you got cut out early, so I want to ask my last question. So, you were able, leading a team, and I know that's a lot. I know there's other leaders and directors too, so I'm gonna ask this question. But, before you go, I know that you still made time for yourself, and particularly for side things, creative ventures, like writing articles with your boy. So during this time, can you speak about, how do you take time to yourself? I want to end when you leave, on how you take time for yourself before you got to cut out, because you're going to take some time to yourself now, hopefully go to sleep.
Not easily. I think I have to fight myself, and with a lot of other boundaries, and to hold in place to take any time. And I resonated with what Whitney was saying around kind of work hours stretching into the night. And to me, that was work from home was great in a lot of ways. And also I was not shutting down the computer until right before I went to bed, and thought that was okay. And really had to kind of pull myself away from that, especially as we started moving into hybrid operations, and start setting those different boundaries. Now that the commute was in place, now that different hours and such, that I wasn't just burning myself at both ends of the candle. So I think it's a daily struggle, relying on my team members to notice when I probably need to be not emailing when I'm on PTO, or doing other things that really again stretch me too thin. And I'm really good at taking care of other people and encouraging others to take that time and those breaks and take care of themselves. So kind of taking my own advice when possible, or at least listening when people are encouraging that of me as well, has been helpful in trying to regain some of that, if not balance, then at least a sense of self during this time.
So I know you got cut out in 3 minutes. So I want to, before you leave, do you have any last parting words or gems you'd like to share before you cut out? Which I know was a pleasure. I'm glad I had you for as long as I had you on tonight.
Thanks. Yeah, I told folks I don't stay up this late into the evening for anyone except for a good friend like Phil. No, I think that my last parting thoughts is just to be a mom in career services. I think what makes it better or easier is having other leaders that talk about their families and kids, that honor that commitment, that respect that other part of your life, and the fact that you're a whole person. And so I try to do that in my work and with and for others, and model that as well. But having this community to look to, and ideally anybody who's here who sees that as part of their life, or someone that they could support. I think that's how we keep it going, is being a community and supporting each other. So thanks for having me.
All right, thank you. So I have my next question for Jen. In regards to that support, I like mentorship. Mentorship is big for me. Mentorship, seeing people. And I think directly we talk about mentorship across the identities, but mentorship with shared identities. So I definitely love having other Black males to look up, or particularly Black fathers to look up to in working spaces. So for me, that's big. So I want to speak to this maybe, and the identities. Who are some mentors or people that you saw were like, wow, she's a working mom, she's doing it. Let me tap into her and ask for her guidance. Maybe even particularly early on when I'm just about to have a baby, I need to ask her questions and stuff. Who is someone like that for you, and why did you gravitate to that person?
Yeah, so I'm probably the worst person to ask this question of
Oh,
because I'm realizing that this is missing from my life very seriously. I mean, mentors are not missing from my life. I have some phenomenal mentors, but the actual mother mentor is a big gap for me right now. So, like, even in my close friend circle, my three very closest friends, we're talking about from like elementary school. Um, None of them share my experience of being a working mom. So, two of them decided to leave the workforce when they had children. One's working but decided not to have kids. So, while I feel like we all listen and try to appreciate each other's experiences, none of those experiences are shared between me and any one of them, which is sometimes challenging because I could talk about a challenge and I don't think it's fully landing. And when I
mhm.
think about some of the other mentors that I have, which are really phenomenal people giving me great advice, um, none of them have children,
Wow,
which is really interesting.
that's interesting.
Um, yeah, yeah. So I am in the market for a mother
There you go.
mentor.
There it is. There it is. Hey, there it is. Okay, how about this on the flip side? Because I know, okay, I know you don't have it, but I know people gravitate to you. Have you grabbed someone by the hand too? Like, a person that's asking you advice right now, or like, because I know you're a mentor, but I don't know if you have someone that's same identity as you to mentee or whatever you call it, the protege. You know the word I'm trying to go for. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, as it relates to parenting, yeah, I'm thinking of one person in particular. Yes, and I'm happy to be in that role. A lot of that is us sort of muddling through it together. So maybe we are co-mentors in that
Yeah.
space.
Yeah.
Just trying to figure it out, trying to work through frustrations and challenges, or just being like, yeah, what the heck was that? Like, what just happened this morning? So yes, I can think of yeah, at least one example where I'm in that role, but I feel like a lot of where people have like reached out and asked for mentorship or advice has been outside of the realm of motherhood, parenting, family, and more related to career.
That's interesting. Do you think, okay, let me, and this could be open to everyone. Do you think that, I don't know, I literally, I don't know, do you think it's a personality thing, or you think that's another patriarchal, matriarchal, like mom just assume that moms know how to mom and dads, I don't know. Because for me, and maybe this is a personality thing. When I was about to become a dad, I was scared, honestly. And so I was like, oh man, I'm not ready to do this, but I'm going to do it. Am I going to be good at it or not going to be good at it? And I literally started gravitating to dads that I knew were doing good jobs. And I grabbed them. I can shout him out right now, like Sam Hardman. He's out here. I like literally. I was thinking that sometimes they thought me and him was a partner because I was doing like hanging out with him and his kids on trips. You know what I'm saying? Like where's your wife at? No, it's my boy Philip. I'm riding around with the boys. And so that really helped me. And then understanding, like, I had these conversations where, if you were my mentor or mentee, I bring my whole thing. So like I need advice on careers, but I definitely say, hey, I need help with, how do you really, I'm trying to stay late for work, but I can't do late. Well, how do you balance that? I couldn't ignore in my advice getting that I had to ask questions about parenting. So do you think that's just, in general, this is an anecdotal question. Do you think that's maybe a personality? I'm just extrovert, or do you think that is about, I think moms kind of, don't talk about it. I don't know where I was trying to, you know?
Whitney and Tibby, what do you think? Because I don't know.
Yeah.
I see. So I'm more introverted, and I'm thinking about my pregnancy and thinking about like in many ways I like to operate on like in that space, and ignorance is bliss. Because I was like freaked out about the whole thing, like the whole thing. I didn't want to know
Mhm.
too much about what was going to happen in delivery. I didn't want to know too much about what was going to go down after that. I was definitely freaked out about it, but
Hmm.
I didn't do as good of a job of reaching out as I probably could have, and I don't know why that is. So I'm curious to hear from
Hmm.
others in the space.
I didn't reach out to anybody. As a Latina, that identity took over. And it was like, if you don't know how to do this with as many kids as you were around growing up and changing diapers and doing the things, then you shouldn't be a mom. And that was a huge part of why I experienced postpartum depression with my first child. So for me, Phil, like, yeah, 100%, I just went inside of myself. So like all of my extroversion when I'm in a depressive state turns into introversion and isolation. And I completely isolated myself from everyone. But what's interesting is that the people that I consider my mentors that really helped me with my mothering were men and were fathers, because what started happening, because I couldn't talk about my feminine identity as a mother, I started just wanting to get their perspectives on kind of like what I was doing. And, you know, me and my husband's relationship, being young and having kids. I had my daughter at 24. I was very, very young. You know, we didn't know what the heck we were doing at all. So they definitely, as like men, seeing men, and especially men of color that were involved in their children's lives in very real ways, oof, they saved me. A lot of those men saved me, and they were my mentors professionally, and gave me perspective. I also have a really great mother-in-law who, when I would say like, oh, I feel so guilty, I have to leave Ben with the baby, she'd be like, yeah, that's his baby.
Yes. Yeah. I love it. Yeah.
And I was like, you're right. You are 100% right. That is his baby. And he can't stay with the baby. You know, like, but all those roles, those gender roles, like really, really, for my first child, bogged me down to where I didn't allow my husband to help me either. So having those men kind of say, yo, he got it. Like, you can go. He will change the diaper. She will not be broken. I promise, when you get back. That was extremely, extremely helpful to me. But I didn't want to feel, I've always been a caretaker, to put myself in a position where people who have known me for a long time see me struggle as a mother was a level of vulnerability that I was not comfortable with.
That's interesting. I mean, that's interesting that you said that, because as a father, I still get, upset when someone says, like, uses the word, like, phrase, like babysitting. Like, I'm not babysitting my kids. Like, what are you talking about? Like, no, these are my kids. And I think that is a patriarchal system and viewpoint. And then, I like that. I actually, shout out to you that you said that. Like, I think I took a lot of pride in talking about being a dad and being a dad, and we talk about it with my boys, and I don't know. I don't know if that's just how I think the generational thing, but like, I definitely talk about it a lot. I think almost that gives me an opportunity to talk to the women at work, because I'm surrounded by women at work. And so when they had their conversations, at first I was like, maybe I shouldn't jump in this conversation because this is, women talk. But now, no, I can talk about I can talk about kid raising. Now I know the lines of like, well, I can't talk about breastfeeding, like that's not my, like, don't mansplain or, keep your mouth shut on that one. Sometimes I use Maggie, my wife's stories in that to say like, oh yeah, my wife, so I could join the conversation. But I think for me as a man, for me, it gave me a connection to all these wonderful women I get to work with on a day-to-day basis. And so I was happy to be a father because it gives me an opportunity to engage in an environment where I can, I guess, talk about something that was common to the people I work with. So I don't know.
That was the thing. Like, and shout out to my husband. Like, when we first connected, I worked at a daycare, and it was seeing him and how he dealt with children that really drew me to him. And then I found out that he has 2 sisters. He's the youngest, so he was around women. So there was a lot of empathy that was already built into his character that made me choose him as a partner in the first place. But sometimes when that baby comes out, you forget about all that stuff, and that's your baby, and I'm not giving you my baby. So it was a difficult transition, but you're absolutely right. Like, one of the best things is to see. My husband turned 41 this year, and at his birthday party, his best friend in the world was at my house. And he told me when Ben became a father, it was like what he was supposed to be. Like that seeing him as a dad was what he was supposed to be. But as a woman, sometimes that makes you feel a little like, ooh, is he a better mom than me? Like, that's a real thing. Like, it makes you feel like a little like, is the baby talking to him more than me? Does she feel more comfortable? It's weird. But those gender roles messes you up.
Yeah, I was about to say, well, my wife doesn't worry about that. They love it. I got 2 boys and she the queen.
You got boys. I got a girl. So if the girl go to the demo, I'm like,
no, I ain't got that. I'm second class. I'm second class in this house. That's why I'm in the basement right now. We talked about a lot about motherhood, and I want to get back to the profession part and that integration. Do you think now, and I asked this in the father episode, do you think now you automatically are starting to look for, when you see your kids have talents, do you already start to think, okay, I'm putting my career services hat on, they're going to be good at this? And I'll give you an example, and then anyone can share. My son is very good at math. My son Bennett, very good at math, doing multiplication already. And I'm already like, STEM, engineering, I'm going to be rich. You know what I'm saying? I'm already forecasting careers because I've been around it so much. So do y'all have that same mindset? Do y'all start looking for the skills and talents and strengths in your children and automatically thinking of ways that they're going to be self-sufficient in the future? I'm just curious.
I do. I definitely do. Well, I did. I'll say that. So quick story. Back when my son's father and I, when we were in college, because that's where we met, Bowie State, we would, go on dates and have conversations about our future, which is like really weird, I guess, for college students, but whatever. So we would have these conversations about our future, and we would legit just sit for hours trying to manifest what we would want in a child, right? So we would, talk about everything, like how they look, their personality, whether or not they'll be creative, because we're both very creative beings. And for the most part, we pretty much manifested our child. It's really weird how the universe works. We manifested our child. He is like our perfect combination, although he's 5. And there are some things that we see in him that we believe will lead him to the creative field. He might not, I don't know. Like, he's really into music. He will sing on key, which I'm like, ooh, you haven't even taken vocal lessons. He'll sing on key. If I put on an instrumental, he'll sit there and, do some type of gibberish like he's rapping or whatever. And Phil, I got some skills. So he'll be there, with his little baby bars. He loves to dance, and, he's very dramatic. So I'm like, maybe you're going to be an actor. I'm definitely going to be rich. Maybe you're going to be a rapper. I'm really going to be rich. Maybe you're going to be a singer. Yes, this whole family about to have bank. That's what I was thinking about that. But then I started to realize, if I have that mindset, then I'm going to start trying to force things on him that he might not actually like. He may just enjoy music right now, or he may enjoy just wiggling his body all over the place. He may enjoy being dramatic. I know he enjoys being dramatic because he watches himself and, practices emotions in the mirror, which is really great for a kid on the spectrum. That's good. But I don't want to be that parent that lives vicariously through my child. Yeah. I don't want that. I don't want to be like, now you have to go do these piano lessons, these vocal lessons, and all that so that you can be this phenomenal singer. You need to be a super producer, because that's what I wanted to be. I wanted to be Kanye pre Amber Rose, that's what I wanted to do. So hopefully you'll do it, and I'm going to push you for that. I don't want to do that. I don't want to do that to him, but I will put on my career services hat. I'll put on that career development face if he comes to me and he needs help with something. You know, if he starts talking about careers in like middle school and he's asking me questions, I'll help him with that. But I won't say, well, you know, back in the day, you used to sit there and sing beautifully. Like I can't do it to him.
Yeah, that's great. I mean, I think that's to the next point too. And I asked this. I mean, I like to just use the same questions. So, do you think you have the blueprint on college and how college works, or how vocational schools work? And what I mean by that is like I'm already picturing when my kids go to any college they go to, like I'm going to be that a parent that goes to the orientation and saying, "Where is this office? Where is this office? What are these services?" Or do I don't know? Do you think that it's best that we kind of like just become parents and not people that work in higher ed and act like we don't know the blueprint, you know? I don't know. I'm just very curious to that. Like, you know, that's a really complicated question, but you know what I mean? Like, is it weird? Like, do you, because I see a lot of parents come to college with their kids and they don't know what they're doing because they probably either they didn't go to college or they did go to college a while ago, but they don't work in college. And I feel like I work in college. So when I go to these college, I know what I'm looking at. Like technically, hopefully I know what I'm looking for. Like I know that my kid will not experience, or hopefully will not experience that, what we call the Mason shuffle or whatever shuffle, where they go from one office to the other because they don't know how to navigate college. But I know how to navigate it because I work in it. So, you know, what are your thoughts on that? Or do you think college is going to be completely different when we have kids and we don't even know what we're talking about and they have like robots and holograms and stuff?
It's hard. I have two kids. So like for Adrian, for my son, I feel like definitely he would allow me to and let me in. He's 6, by the way, and I'm talking about his college. Like,
Yeah.
He's 6, but just his personality thus far in the 6 years that I've known him, I feel like he would be quicker to reach out and like want me to help and navigate because he's very much a perfectionist type of a personality, where my daughter, if I offer to help, she's not going to go to college. Like she'll be like, nah, I don't want to do it. You know, like she's a completely different personality. I want to let her lead more of the decision-making. She's 12, so she's closer to the college realm. I think for me, getting into career services, I always told my students, I'm being nice to you so that I get a lot of good karma, so that when somebody needs to be nice to my child, that they're nice to my child.
Yeah.
So this is purely a selfish act, me being an amazing educator and administrator in college, because I'm just looking for all the karma points that I can for my babies. I don't want to be that person to navigate my child. I don't think that ever works. I want them to be able to identify. I want to be a good enough role model and place my children around quality people so that they can identify who quality people are and can feel confident in reaching out for help from those people. Because to be honest, Phil, like the parent that you just described is the parent that I hated.
Yeah.
I hated the parent that wanted to like sit in the resume like appointment with the kid, or like, can I go in the interview with the recruiter and just explain no, you can go away.
Look at
Like, what? Are you also going to call in if they get the job and they're sick? Mom, like what? No. So I truly don't ever want to be that parent. I just want to give my kids enough love and not suffocate them, that when they feel like they have completely gotten lost, that they know that they can travel back to me and that I will do everything that I can to help them get on the path. But I need them to fall, because that's the only way that they're going to figure out how to get up. Like, it's great. I'll send them off to college and I'll do all this stuff and supporting them. And then they'll come back and live in my house forever because I supported their every move in college. Like, I don't want that. I want self-sustaining human beings. And that means falling. I don't want them to fall off a cliff. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But if they trip over something, I'm all right. You good. Get up. You fine. You'll be okay. You know? So that's my perspective on it.
So I think maybe we got a couple more, like 10 more minutes. If we get some questions in the comment, we got a lot of comments, a lot of love. So shout out to everyone. But if we get any questions, throw them in the chat. I should have probably said that earlier, but I was so engaged with this that I forgot to ask that. But while we get that, if people are going to throw questions, so I'm going to ask this to Jen. Questions. I'd say that a lot. Maybe people will leave questions. But so where do you see the future of college, and particularly, and when I say that, like, you remember you put on your predictive hat, how can we as career services be ready to help and assist in that? So it's more a career question rather than a mom question.
Yeah. I mean, I think I can tell you what I'd like to see.
Yeah, I like that. Yeah, let's do that. Let's say what would you like to see. I love that. Let's say what would you like to see.
I'd like to see. I don't know what's going to happen, but I mean, I'd certainly. I mean, maybe I'm biased, but I'd like to see more investments in career exploration and development in really thoughtful ways on college campuses. So, kind of seeing that because what I'm seeing now is sort of like, I'm in a position where I sit on a student success and retention council. We're now a moonshot for equity school, which is awesome, but we're defining student success as the point of getting students to a diploma, like getting them to the point of diploma. And I don't think that actually matters if then they're going to hit a job market where they're encountering bias and all kinds of other barriers. Like then what does that diploma or that degree actually mean? What does it actually translate to? And so I would love to see more investment in like partnerships with employers and organizations in terms of making sure that, okay, we're making sure the students are career ready. We're also going to make sure that you as the employer are career ready. You are ready to receive these students. You're ready to provide the environments that they need to thrive and to be successful. Because to me, if we're just getting them to the point of the diploma, I mean, I get that that's what career services does now, right? We kind of help them launch into that first job, and then sometimes they come back for multiple jobs. But I kind of feel like, again, we're somewhat powerless against like the job market that they're facing, the technology that's being used in some of the hiring processes where bias is built heavily into it. So I'm talking about some of the AI and the code behind that. So I guess I would like to see the future of like the college and the career development space being more advocates for what's happening when their students are leaving so that they can truly say that they're committed to student success and not just committed to students getting to the point of the degree and then we're hoping for the best for them.
I love it. And so maybe my follow-up too, was hoping for the best. Let's say in that scenario that doesn't happen, the thing that you don't want to see. What do you think we can do at home to still, it's like almost that safety net. What do you think we can do at home to like at least set our kids up when we know maybe an external environment is not providing that? Because I think I think idealistically it's great, but then I sometimes be like, but the world is the world, so let me protect and I don't know, try my best at home. So what do you think we could do as parents to do that?
Well, I think I know something just that I've observed. Like, I think that it's way easier for a student to look at a job posting and say, "Okay, I think I have the skill to do this. I can do the things that they're asking me to do." Or you can look at a job posting and you can say, "Yeah, this sounds interesting. So I think I'm interested in applying." And I think that values piece sometimes is the one that's like a little bit harder to identify or to really match and find congruence. And so I feel like helping our children and helping other students kind of understand like truly what is at the core of them, what are those values, and if they haven't been given the space to really kind of like test that or know that about themselves, giving them the space to do that and giving them the tools to understand how to find that congruence when they are interviewing. Because if they're encountering some stuff in the hiring practice that's not going to be a good fit, it's not going to magically get better once they get the job. So I think like teaching somebody to have the tools to really do the evaluation on the opportunities that they're looking at could be a potential tool for them.
I love that. I was thinking about that too, like the values. And I think now that I gravitated to, like maybe those are conversations where like maybe if my parent, not my parents thing, but like thinking about like, wow, like maybe at the dinner table, instead of talking about salaries and stuff, we were talking about like, do you really like helping people? That's a value thing, right? And then, so then you're more affirmed in yourself that like, okay, well, I know at least at the core of my job, I'm helping people or doing this, or, because I thought, sometimes the shaping of a fruitful career was prestige or titles and money, and just from growing up. And now I'm seeing a lens that maybe those value conversations could have been helpful. So I think I'm glad you brought that up, because I think that's something that we can actually, you don't know numbers and money, but you can talk about things that are important to values wise at home. So I think that's a great question. Well, we didn't get any questions. We just got more comments. People are just really resonating with what you're saying. I think y'all nailing so much they don't want to ask nothing. So what I'll say with the last 5 minutes, let's do this. As we did, some of y'all have been on my episodes with Bob and Phil. We dropped the gem, so we're just going to use that same mindset. If this, we spent an hour together, and I really appreciate it. If someone jumped in at the last minute and they missed everything you said, and you want to leave them with one nugget before you bounce, what would that be? And so I don't know. I'll let y'all do y'all thinking face, because while y'all doing y'all thinking face, I'm just going to do another plug for 5 Minute Journal. Please check them out. Intelligent Change, and then Tiny Froze. I told them I was going to shout them out twice in this podcast, so I did. These are great things. The 5 Minute Journal is a tool that I use for gratitude, and Tiny Froze is a show that is on YouTube, animated show that one of my fraternity brothers does. I wanted to show them some love. Hopefully that gave you enough time. I know that was a quick plug. So now that I can take that off, who wants to go first with the last minute gem before we wrap up? I can get one. My last minute gem is surround yourself with good people that will spend time on a Wednesday night at 9:00 when they can go to sleep and support your creative endeavors, which y'all doing. So my gem is surround yourself with good people that support you, but whatever also offer that I'm probably going to owe them all something later on in life. So now I have to be ready to return the favor. So always be ready to give when you receive. That's my gem. I thought that was a pretty good one, if I say so myself. All right, Jen, what's your last gem?
I mean, I feel like I have to say this one, like go out and get yourself some mother mentors, and I'm going to do the same, and maybe we can hold each other accountable to that, because I saw a lot of folks in the chat that were saying that they were working on expanding their network, or they were looking for kind of like some tips on how to do that. So please feel free to connect on LinkedIn if we're not already connected. And I would love to be able to hold each other accountable to that, because I feel like I just worked through a therapy session where I'm like, I need this in my life. So thank you for helping me uncover that. And I just want to encourage other people to do that too.
I love it. I love it. Mentorship matters. All right, Jen, I'm going to pop you off then as we wrap up the show and land the plane. But thank you so much for joining. All right, Tibisay.
I think be confident in the fact that you're a good person, and that the good things that you have to offer will transition into your child. You have to believe in the fact that they are going to take away those values that we were talking about, and sitting around the table and being able to give your children those values. I know that I was so grateful in so many different situations, by just thankful for the way that I was raised, because I saw my parents be considerate people, and I saw them be caring. So I just think, don't panic. You're doing the best you can. We all are as parents. Make sure that you do have that good quality of people around you, so that your children can also identify what quality looks like in individuals as they venture into the world. So don't isolate yourself with your family. If you have a great professional network, also expose your children to that amazing professional network, because again, these are quality folks. And this is still the United States of America. So one of the things that I would do is use my networks for internships for my kids. So all of you will be tapped for internships and opportunities. Thank you so much.
All right, thank you, Tibisay. And that's actually great advice. I would say, in addition to that, like I have modeled when I see my parents have really good friends. That's also showed me what good friendships are. So I think I agree that that is a very important thing. So last but not least, your last gem as we wrap up the show, Whitney.
Yes. So my last tidbit, I guess I'll keep it on topic. Mothers and career services, value us, value moms, value dads, value parents in general, because we are definitely a guiding light, and we could provide so much support and guidance to help empower students, our children, to, be successful in whatever, pathways they choose to take. So definitely value us. That's all I got to say.
Well, I definitely value you, and thank you so much for spending your time tonight. So thank you, ladies and gentlemen. I really am happy to have such a collection of wonderful people. That's one of the biggest things that has been my takeaway with joining professional organizations in the world of work is the ability to connect with people and really, really enjoy them. So as I said earlier, please join us. Tomorrow we'll be doing another series with LGBTQIA+ in career services. There's been a great series to see how these different identities show up in work and really get to know people. And I really appreciate all those that joined in. If you are a fan of the podcast, I will be posting the audio for those that are audio learners on iTunes, Spotify, and all that on Friday. So keep a lookout for that as well. You can also come back and look at this video. This is, while this live chat ends, it's still able to be seen later. And I want to thank my wonderful guests, Jen Rossi Long, Whitney Kerr, Tibisay Hernandez, and Samara Reynolds for joining me tonight. Thank you so much. And thank you, everyone, and take care. Thank you for listening to Positive Philter, a podcast that focuses on family, friends, career, with a little self-help along the way. If you enjoyed this podcast, please share it with your family and friends, and like the Facebook page, Spreading Positivity of Movement. Thanks for listening.